16 of the Auld Triangle, and we are here to bring you all the latest news from the Irish MMA scene, and we have a bunch to get through this week. Danni McCormack joins us a little bit later on in the show to talk about the Irish Youth Championships and their success over there in Abu Dhabi. We're going to talk some KSW. We're going to talk some PFL. Bunch of Irish fighters have been in action over the past 2 weeks. We are going to get tucked into it. As always, I am joined by Andy Stevenson and Caoilte Barra today to help me break down all the news and share their opinions and get into it all. Andy, what's the crack? How are you? You're just back.
I conquered Kilkenny. I'm the king of Kilkenny now.
Jesus, can't be
some other bum on this show has gone around saying he's the king of Kilkenny, but I don't know about that.
Hey, no, I've never said anything like that. That's what I've been labelled. So
sorry. I mean that, yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, I ain't going to take it if it's going to be thrown my way. If that
it'd be rude. Sure, it'd be rude for you to push back against it. Really,
it would be. Hey, former king of Kilkenny, current king of Saskatoon, Caoilte. What do you reckon? Where would you prefer me to be the king of, or where are you the king of today?
Fucking nowhere. I'm wrecked. No, I'm hungover as it gets, lads. I was at a festival all weekend, so
good
king
man.
of the sauce.
King of Leeds Fest is what it was. Jesus. But you look,
you're over at Leeds and Reading.
Leeds, Red. Well, it's at Leeds. Yeah, it's Leeds one. Reading looked better than Leeds, lads. So it's fairly.
Who was headlining over in Leeds?
Friday was Halsey, and then 1975, and then on Saturday, which I feel like it's Sunday, but on Saturday then it was headlined by Dave. They had Megan Stallion on. Then earlier on that day, Glass Animals were on. It was absolute chaos, and the sun was splitting the stones as well. So I got a little bit sunburned, but I'm absolutely.
Did you do the Otley Run?
The what?
The Otley Run. I used to live in Leeds, you know. The Otley Run is this, like, it's basically like I think it's like a 2 mile stretch of this Otley Road, and it goes all the way from like Headingley into Leeds city centre, and there's just pubs all along the way. So like you always see stag parties and hen parties and stuff, and everyone dresses up in costume and basically just does like a 25 pub crawl along the way.
This is what I saw. We passed a load of people dressed as like Robin Hood. There was loads of them.
Yeah, everyone dresses up for it in mad costumes.
That would make sense.
Did you do that before, Andy? You did?
No, I did not.
No, I could see you dressed up there as Friar Tuck.
I went to the cinema around the corner from it though, so that was cool.
Yeah. Anyway, king of this, the king of that, the king of dog shite, the king of KSW was Carl McNally, which seems like an age ago. He picked up a very, very good win on his KSW debut, Andy. A really lovely rear naked choke finish and a really great performance. Break it down for us.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's break it down. But let's break it down from even before. I feel like Carl McNally just kind of nailed this debut in KSW. I saw him over there having the crack. He was getting stopped for photos before. Like, I saw he had fan ops and everything like this, photo ops with the fans. He comes in dancing, singing into the cage, looking very, very confident. Gets off to a great, his performance was fairly clinical. They exchanged on the feet. Carl had some lovely strikes, lovely kicks. He did eat a shot or two, and he's got a nasty eye injury as a result. But ultimately, it was his fight from start to finish. Really, I thought once he got the back up against the cage, that was really all she wrote, and got the first round submission finish. So he serenaded Danny Core in the cage after with a happy birthday. Brilliant. And was playing up to the crowd, like really. It seemed like he really embraced the moment and the atmosphere that comes with KSW events. And from speaking to KSW after, apparently the fans love him. So he's made a right splash in his debut over there, and fair play to him.
Fair play to him is right. Look, I called it a rear naked choke / neck crank. It was a nasty submission. And, he did well to come back because I think it's I believe it's a scratched retina that he has right now, where like he couldn't barely see out of his eye for a couple of days. Hopefully he's doing a little bit better now. It was a little while ago, but that's a nasty injury. And it's one that, you can get in a fight too, and it can go another way for you. So I can't imagine he could have been seeing all that well in there. But he did enough to kind of get the job done, and a great win on his debut. And I thought he gave an excellent interview to you before and told a couple of great stories. It's like, you you felt like you were really on the journey with him there, and you know it was great to see him go in there and put the performance.
He's a likable
like
guy, isn't he? He's a very personable guy, and
Sure
he
is.
was both him and Danny Core giving us a bit of shit because I said on the last episode I was like, oh, you know, being thrown in the deep end here at KSW, and he's like, I am the deep end. I've been swimming in the deep end all my life. So, no armbands required for Carl McNally.
I love it. It was great to see, Quilcher, wasn't it?
Absolutely fantastic. Serious performance. Your man was a bit awkward as well. Like, I was looking at your man thinking, geez, he could come out with that. But Carl looked fantastic. I actually got to speak to him for him as well. He comes from, like he said in Andy's interview, that mad lineage of boxing history in his family and everything. It's mental. But to see him go in there, put on a performance like that in front of a packed KSW crowd is only going to do him wonders moving forward. Like, he could become a superstar in that promotion. Sure, look at what's happened with Norman Park. He's a superstar in Poland. There's all the potential in the world for that to happen to Carl McNally if he keeps this up.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to seeing him again. Like you said, hopefully he heals fast from that eye injury. Caoilte, I'm going to go to you. We had a trio of Irish athletes over at Centurion recently. Again, kind of flew in midweek under the radar. I believe it was last week. Stephen Costello, Marcin Zembala, and Nikolai Grozdev all picked up wins over in Belgrade in Serbia. 3 really impressive performances by all the lads.
Yeah, you'd all 3 come out with wins, so it was a very successful one. It's all first round finishes as well, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'll start off there. Nikolai Grozdev, who fought at a catch weight of 160 pounds, 61 pounds according to Tapology here. So a little bit heavier, I think about 5 pounds heavier than what he's used to. But he was sensation. Thought he looked really strong from the out. He came out with this big monster right hand. I was thinking, geez, he could knock that out quickly with it here. But takedown was equally as strong. Geez, commentary were a bit annoying, to be honest. Commentary were like, he took him down, and the commentary were just like, that's a point now. He'll be up in the scorecard, and it's like, needs to do something with it first, but whatever. Anyway, he did something with it in the end, and he managed to get a head and arm choke? No, an arm triangle choke in the end. And fantastic. He looked really good. I'm excited to see what's next to him. It was a good way to bounce back from a loss. He lost there earlier this year, the decision. So a good win for him. Stephen Costello then, it was just one-way traffic, to be honest. Easy work. He looked really good. He looked really good in there. Took his opponent down, and I think from then there was just no moving really, to be honest with you. And got the rear naked choke. Simple as that. That's 2 on the bounce for him in Centurion. So a much better opponent this time as well, I must say. So on paper anyway. So excited to see what's next for him. And then last but not least, this one's got a bit of a story to it as well. I think Andy might have 1 or 2 more details for this. But Marcin Zembala fought at a middleweight for this, if I'm not mistaken. He also fought in a pair of GA shorts. Some man. But
Legend.
Absolute great. But yeah, he fought at middleweight, and I'm pretty sure he's, what is he? Is he a featherweight or lightweight, lads?
He fought lightweight in Ur, didn't he? I'm pretty sure it was lightweight.
Yeah, I think so.
I know he has fought 170 before previously, but like he generally is. I think he's been lightweight for the most part for the last while.
Yeah, so pretty much lightweight now. Checking on some of his previous fights as well. But I mean, Jesus Christ, he pulled
Savage
off some head,
wasn't it?
Unreal. It was like Leon Edwards-esque.
Yeah,
I wonder did he
like,
draw
my
some,
beer.
Yeah, it was just like that. I wonder did he draw some inspiration from that knockout that Leon pulled off. But Christ Almighty, it was a savage head kick that he landed.
Yeah,
and
good fight as well, because like your man was just kind of coming in throwing haymakers the entire time like a big brute.
Yeah, and you know what? A badly needed win for Marcin as well. He's been in a couple of close fights, and you know, he'll be delighted to get back into the win column there. He moves to 5-6, but you know what? His record doesn't truly show what kind of a fighter that he is. You know, he's going in there against tough opposition. Has been a little bit unlucky, but there is no doubts about that one. I thought Stephen Costello was excellent in his performance as well. Just a smooth transition for the takedown, and a really smooth transition to take the back to secure the rear naked choke.
Very methodical as well, wasn't he?
Very methodical. It made it look a lot easier than it actually was, but credit to him. You know, he had a disappointing start with that debut loss, but he's after bouncing back and picking up 2 great wins in a row. And like we said, Nikolai Grozdev got another great arm triangle choke as well to move to 4-1.
Very dominant. There was a bit of spice as well in the aftermath. It seemed it was kind of fiery back and forth. He wasn't happy with, I don't know if something happened maybe beforehand. I thought it might have been because it kind of looked like a quick tap, and I was like, maybe he's just kind of pissed off or something. But there was some fiery back and forth after the bell rang, or after the submission was locked in and the tap came. So no harm. It's mad seeing Nikolai. Like, he's been around for so long. Like, I rewatched the Notorious documentary there recently, and he's there like in the Mac Mansion during the Mendez camp. I'm like, oh, there's Nikolai Grozdev. Like, and he's kind of forging his path now. So it's mad all these years later. Yeah,
it's mental. It's great to see. Continuing on a positive note, I guess. Look, we'll get through all the good news first, and we'll follow up with all the bad news. We had wins for Leon Hill against Simon Otley at Almighty FC. Unfortunately, we couldn't secure any footage of that.
I saw the finish. It kind of looked pretty similar to his last one, where getting to mount and landed some brutal strikes from there. So yeah, two wins in quick succession. I imagine he'll probably be looking to get on maybe a Cage Warriors card or something like that soon. Would be my guess. But two solid wins on the. Yeah,
no, it's great to see Leon in there and being like. In these fights in quick succession, get the chance to kind of rack up those wins. Obviously lost his professional debut as well, taking it on short notice, but it's good to see him back, and he's back with a winning record now, moves to 2-1.
Professional, I think a new nickname as well, is it? The Professional.
The Professional, is it? Nice.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, all right, it's not bad. Finally, we will talk about Dee Begley's win over Jessica Ortega. Got a chance to watch that back. I think Dee came out really well. Landed a huge overhand right from her very first shot, buckled the legs of Ortega. And I think, after that, I think Jessica Ortega made a decision where she was, to me, what looked like it was in survival mode for the rest of the fight. She wanted to clinch as much as she could. She didn't really engage too much in the striking. She was the bigger fighter, so she was trying to kind of use that weight advantage to lean on Dee. But I thought Dee did very, very well in that fight to kind of make it dirty in the clinch, not give her anything easy. And it just kind of looked like, overall, Jessica Ortega was not having fun in there, and Dee Begley was having great fun in there. So she picked up her second Combate win, her second pro win. She moves to 2-1 as well.
Do you reckon she enjoys getting the full 15 minutes, considering she's had such a mess of a time trying to just get in the cage through no fault of her own?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, sometimes you probably would talk to fighters, or you would hear them saying that, they're disappointed not to get the finish. But I think hindsight at times is a great thing. And, getting that 15 minutes cage time, that cage experience, just feeling what the body feels like. And after that, like 15 minutes in there, you'll gain a lot from that as well. Obviously, the majority of fighters want to go in there and get that finish. That's what they're hoping for. But, I mean, getting those good wins, and it was a good win for Dee there. She looked comfortable throughout, didn't look in any bother at all. And I'm looking forward to, although that was at the catch weight at 130, she will move down to 125. She will cause some problems in that division in Combate. She's got some good power. She's buckled Jessica Ortega. I'd be interested to see how many can take those heavy shots at 125 as well. Moving on.
Ranked after that now? Or will she get ranked? I wonder.
Hopefully, yeah. You would like that's two wins in a row in Combate, so I'd be interested to see the rankings whenever they do come out again. But, I talked to her before that fight. She was calling for title shots and everything, so she has all eyes on that top 10. And hopefully
they should be giving her not whatever matchup she calls for, but they should be giving her a solid matchup next. She deserves it.
Absolutely, she does. Yeah, a little bit of drama ahead of that fight with the change in schedule and other things as well. So that was a nearly battle in its own right as well. You have to get yourself mentally ready. Am I fighting? Am I not fighting? But you know what? She went in there. She got the job done by unanimous decision, and moves to 2-1 and a great win overall. Unfortunately, a couple of Irish fighters picked up losses as well. Andy, we'll start with Glenn McVeigh. Who lost to Bilal Tipsayev at FCR, I believe, over just past weekend. Glenn went over there on his own. Alone. He didn't have a corner over there with him, which I was very surprised to see, actually. I'm going in there against a tough opponent. Kind of a one-man army. Glenn went over to Sweden there. Didn't work out his way. That was the rematch against Bilal, and kind of lost it by decision relatively no contentious decision there. It was pretty pretty convincing.
Pretty comprehensive.
Win. Yeah. Anything else to add on to that?
Yeah, just a bit of a mad situation. I mean, I'd kind of heard that Glenn was over there by himself, and I was like, what is going on here? And yeah, it seems that he's no longer fighting under the FAI banner. By the looks of things, not entirely sure what has gone on or anything like that, so who knows. But yeah, like I said, I noticed in an interview he did with, I think, one of the commentators for Fight Club Rush, he was talking about maybe even going over and training training in Sweden. So I don't know if he's eyeing up a move to Sweden or what's going on. But yeah,
he had what's his name in his corner, Hamburg, do you know, the Tobias Harria's coach and Alexander Loop's coach, so that could be a move over in Vasteras.
Yeah, like, I mean, probably because he had no one, like, I mean, fair play to him for going over there by himself, like, because it's just mad, like, and I think the commentators were kind of expressing that and translating that on the broadcast, like, this is kind of very much not normal. Like, we saw when Ian Gary left KF, like, he was, I think they were literally had to, like, pull in, obviously Paul Hughes cornered him, but like they were stopping him from fighting if he didn't have a corner. So you can't just show up with no corner.
So it would kind of mean that he must have parted ways with FAI somewhere down the line there. So it was a surprise for all of us to see.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I mean, look, it's a shame that it was a big fight kind of going in, considering it was a tough fight previously. You're going in, it's a rematch. You know, the lads did kind of, Glenn does a good job of kind of building fights and hyping fights, even, you know, when it's not not like this is a huge fight for a title or anything. You know, he did a good job at that, but I just thought he was kind of throwing that same front kick to the body up the middle and an overhand right, and I just thought Tipsayev handled him fairly easily across 3 rounds, if I'm being purely honest. I didn't think it was in doubt from start to finish. You know, Glenn landed a couple of nice shots, but you know, when it's the contrast between Glenn having 0 corner whatsoever, and then you have Bilal Tipsayev with Hamzat Chimaev in his corner, and Reza Madadi was quite stark also, I thought, which was a nice bit of foreshadowing there for the fight, unfortunately for Glenn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys alluded to it a little bit earlier on. He did an interview, you know, maybe saying he might go over and spend some time in Sweden. You know, if he was to go over there, maybe spend some time in that All-Stars gym. He gets some great work over there, and he seems to like it over there.
It was the wrestling that beat him pretty comprehensively.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Unfortunately, it was not good luck for Ryan Curtis as well, who lost this weekend against Jamie Kelly. A really, really close fight. I did get the chance to look at it myself, and you know, through my understanding of the scoring, I would have probably scored a really close fight to Jamie Kelly by 29-28. I thought that Ryan Curtis did very well to put on that forward pressure, and was pretty much on the front foot all the time. But I think, unfortunately, that's not what the judges are looking for. They're looking for impact and striking. You know, and Ryan did get off a lot of shots, but I felt that, you know, his precision wasn't quite as much as we would have seen in previous fights. And, you know, he tried to take Jamie down as well. It was kind of, you know, got him down, Jamie sprang back up, and it was the same vice versa. Jamie got him down. So, you know, you're looking at those exchanges really that nullify each other. So you're talking about these rounds being scored based off a couple of exchanges on the feet in the round. And, you know, I thought Jamie kind of finished a little bit stronger, but yeah, my score was 29-28 to Jamie Kelly. What did you guys think, and what was your assessment of the fight? Maybe I'll go to Andy first.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose firstly, like the feed that I saw was quite jumpy, so like it wasn't the easiest to see when shots were landing and when they weren't. But kind of going in, I had seen some complaints of a robbery, and that, you know, it was the narrative that I'd heard was that it was a clear the first 2 rounds for Ryan, and honestly, I didn't see it that way at all. Not that he didn't win any of the rounds, but I thought they were razor close. I thought the first round was razor close.
Like really, really close.
I thought that the second round was close also. I could see an argument for Ryan winning the first 2 rounds, but to be honest, I could also see an argument for Jamie Kelly winning both of those rounds. I thought they were very, very close. Like I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility to say that Jamie Kelly could have won that 30-27, but also Ryan could have won it 29-28. You know, from what I saw, I was leaning a Jamie Kelly win. I just thought that, you know, as you said, kind of the takedowns, Ryan was getting some nice takedowns, but just not, there wasn't many strikes off the
Yeah,
takedowns.
I think that's what you're looking for. Like, you know, you're looking to secure the takedown, secure that dominant position, and
Yeah.
then land that damage as well.
It
And I
looked like
just think
Kelly was
from both parties, I don't think either one was landing
yeah.
too much damage on the ground. I know Jamie landed a good few heavy shots towards the end, and then especially in round 3 landed a huge right hook which caught Ryan. You know, cut him a
That
little
round
bit
3
on
was the clearest round, right?
Yeah, it would have been the clearest round. So it was all based on rounds 1 and rounds 2. I mean, the word robbery kind of gets thrown around a little bit too much. That's a close fight.
It just wasn't a robbery. Like, no. I would have loved, like maybe putting an Irish bias hat on, I'd have loved to see Ryan Curtis come out and get a win here, considering he badly needed one, and he hasn't kind of reached that form that, you know, I just, anytime I think of Ryan Curtis, I think of that win, and it was a BAM or a Bellator where he absolutely just ran through a lad. I'm just wondering
how. Sorry, Andy, for cutting across you there. I'm just wondering how much that weight cut took from his performance, because, to be honest, he looked like a different person. He looked like a different person, to be honest. Like, I almost didn't recognize him there. So I'd be curious to see how the weight cut went for him, how much it did take away from his performance, because, you know, going back and looking at his previous performances, in my opinion, he didn't get to that level in this fight. And it was still a close fight, even though he didn't perform. So maybe that's some solace that he can take from the fight.
It was scary though, looking like I saw the fight, and I was like, that was one of the weight cuts where it looked, his eyes looked so sunken, like it just looked scary, to be honest with you.
What's your thoughts on it, on that, Caoilte, and the fight overall in general, maybe?
Yeah, like, first off, like, that, as you were saying about the weight cut, like, didn't look good for me. When I saw the picture go up, I was thinking, first of all, I was thinking, I hope he recovers okay in time to take some shots to the head tomorrow, like, because being that dehydrated and then brain trauma, it's like, the sport is cruel, like. But in terms of the fight, look, I scored it for Jamie Kelly. I can see how it was close. I wouldn't call it robbery. I can see it was close. I tell you what, I really enjoyed the fight. That's one thing, because it was so close. That's from an entertainment point of view, quality entertainment. I'd say the fans absolutely had a ball watching it. But no, I would have scored it for Jamie Kelly. Be interesting to see how Ryan Curtis can bounce back from this now, because that's two losses on the bounce now. So I don't know. There might be to go back to reevaluate a few things and then get back in there and see what happens next. But yeah, I'm interested to see where that goes for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we wish Ryan all the best. We have to call it down the middle. We have the benefit of watching back the video and going back and watching it again and stuff like that. So, you know, it's a difficult job for the judges, but that's a close fight overall. And unfortunately, Ryan was on the wrong end of the decision on the night. So that would be disappointing for him. As would have been disappointing for Myles. We move on to Myles Price, who was also defeated against Martian Held at PFL as well. You know, just, in my opinion, just didn't look himself in there on the night. You know, I thought his performance against Jeremy Stevenson, and we talked to him about it on the podcast the last time, was excellent. And maybe, you know, these quick succession fights, I didn't speak to him all that much. You know, just reached out to him briefly, and he's doing good. We saw him in Premier FC over the weekend as well. He'd be the first to admit himself, maybe he didn't compete to 100% capabilities against Martian Held, and, you know, Held kind of got the better of all the exchanges, looked kind of stronger in the clinch and looked stronger on the mat as well. And unfortunately for Myles, it just wasn't his night, and sometimes that can happen. But hopefully that's not it for him in PFL. Obviously, that's his third loss in a row with the promotion. Hopefully they'll give him another crack at it again. It's great to see him in there with that level of competition. And hopefully he can bounce back and get himself a win if PFL come a knocking for next year as well. Any thoughts to share on that, guys?
Yeah, you go first, coach.
The performance, not so much. I can only echo on. I hope to see him back in there. With them kind of being a focus on Europe next year, it would seem almost a no-brainer to keep him in PFL, even if it's just for the European series and keep him going on them cards. But yeah, besides that, not really much.
Yeah, no, I think you kind of nailed it there, Ian. Looking at it, I just thought he got beaten every area, really. And I would be interested to hear from Myles on that. Like, I know he's talked about like the kind of the mental side before, but like he does seem like he's still it seems like he goes in phases almost, where it's like some fights mentally he's there, some fights he's not, and to me it looked like maybe mentally he just wasn't there that fight. I don't know. It's hard. That's hard to speculate on, obviously, but it wasn't a great night at the office for him.
No, it wasn't. But we'll see. Hopefully, he'll get the chance again to fight at PFL. He was there in Kilkenny in the hub for Premier FC. You were there as well, Andy. Great night of fights. Congratulations to the lads for putting on the show. Couple of hiccups before, an event switch or a venue change, a venue change right at the last minute. So they did really well to kind of get everything together. The craziness.
Ian was celebrating as soon as he heard about it. He's like, I'm still the last person to headline a Lachlan Gales.
Yeah, well, fuck Lachlan Gales anyway. But we'll probably talk about it a little bit more down the line. Hopefully, we can get the lads on. Obviously they're pretty busy in the aftermath of the event. Put on the show nonetheless. We're hoping to have the lads on maybe to talk about a couple of those hiccups and some of the difficulties that they did face. It's not just this thing of getting these fights together, getting the venue there. There's a lot of organization. There's a lot of putting together, and they definitely weren't doing any favor or being done any favors by the old venue and by a couple of other things. Not my place to kind of get into it now. I think they'll have their say on it, and we'll gladly have the lads on there to chat about it as well. But back to the positive. The event did go on. It was a great show. There was lots of great fights on it. Andy, you were down there. You got to witness it live. Give us your kind of couple of takeaways from the event.
Yeah, firstly, exactly what you said there. I thought it was very impressive that, considering there was a forced venue change midweek, they put on a great show. Going down, I got it down a little bit later than I'd have liked to as well. To be honest, I wasn't really going down for any specific fights with this one. I think that they're a fledgling promotion where, maybe a lot of the fighters I wasn't overly familiar with, but there were some great fights that were on the card. I thought that the setup was decent. It was it's a very big venue, so it was kind of almost too big, I would say, for this specific event, but I would love to see them back in there.
The hub is generally known, I think, for there's a cattle mart in there, and
I walked in, someone was like,
cows.
Do you smell that piss now? Do you smell that shit? It's like, I saw cows in here earlier on.
Oh, stop. No, but they did. The hub is kind of used as a kind of a market where, livestock do go there to be auctioned off or to be sold off and stuff like that. So
yeah, we don't have this in Dublin. This is
that's just the smell of the countryside, Andy. That's the kind of the countryside. That's what the countryside smells like down below in the southeast. But look at
these muck sandwiches.
They always have. There has been other events there before as well. I don't know if the actual sales themselves happen in the place where the venue was, but they've had concerts. They have other stuff there as well. So I'm glad that was there for them to use.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I remember you saying that there was a smell of kind of shit and stuff.
I couldn't really get it. There was. I noticed when I was going up. So you go up the stairs to the media room or all the backstage, kind of where the lads are warming up, and it just smelled like a Gaelic football dressing room. When you kind of just smell like sweat and muck and fucking like boots, like that's what it smelled like. But I didn't. So other people were telling me that it smelled like piss and shit, but I actually didn't. I didn't get that. So it was a very classy affair. No, but on a serious note, I would like to see them back there with it. I think they could pull off a big, as they continue to grow Premier FC, I think they could put on a big event there, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
What was the cage like live? Sorry, I really want to know. This
huge.
Is it really as?
I think they said it was. No, I think it's probably the same as. Although did it look bigger? I can't remember if it looked bigger than the one in SPG. They said it was 15 meters diameter. So I don't know if that's the same as the one in SPG. But yeah, it was huge cage. Like you could notice, like you could, as you're watching fights, they're not going to areas because it's so big. But yeah, pretty big cage.
Nice. Any other takeaways from the event? Any fights that stood out to you, Andy?
So the one that stood out to me, aside from the main event, which we can talk through,
we'll talk about the main event in a minute. Apart from
forget about that. So it was the one I literally got there as it ended, so I had to go back and watch this post event. Was Dewey Harrison versus Alex Connolly. So Alex Connolly basically, he won the first 2 rounds, had some beautiful shots with his left hand. Generally was, it wasn't a full-on beating, but he was dominating for the most part. Then the third round comes along, pretty back and forth. He's still having success, and all of a sudden, Dewey Harrison from SVG Nace finds himself in mount, and he takes the back, and he's got a choke in, and there's maybe a minute left, and the ref is checking, is he out? Is he still conscious? He's still conscious, but then we get to the end of the round, and he, pulls him off him, and Alex Connolly is unconscious on the floor. So, having been 2 up, he then loses by a third round at the bell at the 5 minute mark, submission. Dewey Harrison wins, and like the place was. I strolled in as it was ending, and people were like, "Did you see that fight? This is amazing. This is the best thing ever." Just wild.
Crazy. And the video kind of cut off on the stream, so the kind of aftermath. What I seen.
Oh yeah, because you see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
you see the sponsors after.
It was insane, and but it was ruled a win nonetheless because he was unconscious at the end of the. That's mental. Very, very exciting there. Any quick takeaways from you from the card, Caoilte? Any performances that you were impressed with? Maybe I'll give a shout out. I'd like to, non-MMA related, but I'd like to give a shout out to Ryan Mangan as well, who performed in grappling in front of his home team and family as well. An excellent grappler there, coming out of Team Rhino Kilkenny. I was like to see him kind of perform in front of his family. Did really well too. Another guy I was really impressed with was Peter Newty. Got a really good win over Carl Mimosin. I thought, oh gosh,
he's a huge man, Peter Newty.
Like Peter Newty fought at.
My God, big boy.
Peter Newty fought at the last. Was it the last
Cage Legacy? Yeah, against
Ryan
Higgins.
Yeah, and that was a very close fight too. But he picked up his first win. Well. Yeah, and he's a really good fighter, really dangerous fighter there. In the light heavyweight division. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again. Any takeaways from yourself, Caoilte?
So didn't get to watch the entire card from what I've seen. Enjoyed watching Sam Simon. I think he's very good. And then the main event, I guess we might as well get into it. The main event was
just on this, just before we do, that's Sam Simon. So like he had been out for 8 years before his last fight. I think it was he fought what's his name? Joxer. What's his actual
Adam
name?
McEnroe?
I can't remember. Adam McEnroe. I think he fought him up in Ur. I'm pretty sure. And
June or July.
Yeah, and he lost that one. But so like I thought he looked brilliant here in this one. Like his shots he's some seriously heavy hands. He landed a couple of big, impactful takedowns. One was like a belly to back suplex, which I was like, he was just like, you're clocking up air miles here. And I was just very impressed, and it was just kind of cool to see him get the win, because having come back after 8 years out, he loses, and then he finally kind of comes back and gets a win. A lot of emotion. Solomon Simon, who we'll talk about in a moment, was cage side, and he was going nuts, like so delighted for his older brother. I assumed it was a younger brother, but it's his older brother, and I believe I'm not sure, I didn't get to speak to him that much, but there's probably an interesting story there as to why he was out for so long. That's probably worth looking into. So great win, and just one of those kind of feel good ones where it's like, okay, this really means a lot to someone, and they've been waiting a long time for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe just again, before we go into the main event, just a shout out to Dara Ward, who picked up a very good win over Dan O'Sullivan. Remembering back, he dropped that first round, did well to come back into the fight. Did very well off his back, throwing up arm bars, throwing up triangles, and in my opinion did well to come back and get the win, and deserved win at that as well. So let's get to the biggest talking point of the card, and for obvious reasons, no matter what was going to happen, it was going to be the biggest talking point. It was a fantastic fight that was put on. Mario Di Stefano versus Solomon Simon for the lightweight title. Very, very close fight again. A lot of controversy stemming from this as well. I scored it myself, 29-28 to Solomon Simon.
Oh.
So I know there was a lot of controversy. I know he was disappointed not to get it. A really, really close fight. I thought Mario fought very, very well. I thought round one just went to Solomon Simon. Very, very close round that really could have been scored either way. I scored it for Solomon just based off evenness on the feet. I thought Solomon Simon secured the back, secured a little bit more controlled position, got off a couple of shots on the mat as well. like, I mean, that's a round that could have went either way. Round 2 was a round I thought that Mario did enough to take the round there. And then I give round 3 to Solomon Simon.
You mean round 2 for round 2 for Solomon Simon and round 3 for Mario DiTefano?
Oh yeah, round 2 for Solomon Simon as well, and round 3, excuse me, I was getting mixed up, and round 3 for Mario DiTefano. You know, it's a close fight, lads. I mean, what's your assessment of it? Am I right? Am I wrong? Come at me.
I'd hate to be a judge.
Yeah, that was a very hard fight to judge. Very. Do you know what? Hard.
I feel bad for Solomon because that's on home soil in his last 2 fights. He's not exactly had it go his way at all, has he? In terms of he's had 2 kind of really close fights. I think the one to Dennis Frimpong, 2 split decision losses. It's not exactly gone his way on home turf, but I guess look, it's I would have scored it for him. But I think it's round 2 is the toss up. I think me and Ian were speaking about this. It's and it's not even. It's I don't know. It's near the end of round 2 where you're like, who the hell takes it?
You know, there was a lot of shots. Like the lads did great on the desk, and Paul Brown was there. Cheers for the shout out too, appreciated. But he called 2 head kicks that he thought landed for Mario that kind of maybe would have swung around for him, which, looking back on the video, didn't look like.
Yeah, Ian says you're wrong, Paul.
But look, it's hard to see. It's hard to see. Like, and I mean, if Paul is calling it like that too, maybe the judges seen it like that as well, and maybe that's what led the judges, you know, to maybe lean that round towards Mario. I thought that that the kick landed on the arm, not flush. I thought there was a strong finish to Mario in that round himself, but I thought Solomon connected with a clean right hand in that exchange as well, which to me was the most impactful strike of the round. Like, when you're talking about 3-minute rounds and lots of grappling exchanges where there's not that much action, you're only really nailing down small sections of this fight where you can score it one way or the other. And it's maybe a thing where, you know, we don't see it all that much in the professional fights when, you know, separation. Look, we're probably talking about the most famous separation that's happened recently, and that came in the Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman fight where, you know, Herb Dean separated them with 2 minutes to go, you know, ultimately led to the knockout. In those 3-minute rounds, maybe a little bit more call for action, maybe a few more separations on the cage. You need to give the judges something to score as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to argue for one way or the other. That was a super close fight. I'm only going to give my opinion. And
no, I think you're right on what you're saying there, but especially in round 1, right? Like, I thought, I don't think it was the second round that came down to. For me, it was the first. If I had to choose a winner, I'd probably have gone 29-28 to Solomon. I thought round 3 was the clearest round for Mario. Like, I don't think there was any question that he won that he didn't win that round. I thought that was Mario DiTefano's round. Round 2, I gave it to Solomon. I thought that was probably the most exciting of the 3 rounds. I thought there was the most action back and forth, especially on the feet. But I just thought that Solomon was kind of landing the more impactful strikes, the cleaner strikes overall. Still not by a wide margin whatsoever, close round, but I thought he just did enough. Round 1, I don't know who to give that round to. Like, I was giving that round to Mario I keep saying his name wrong, Mario DiTefano, up until like the last 15 seconds when Solomon had him against the cage and he was landing those knees to the legs. Like, it was literally a case of those knees swung it for me. And again, as you're saying there, like, it's one of those ones where it's like, nothing really happened in that round. Like, not a whole lot happened whatsoever. You know, a lot of cage work.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, like, like, you can't get to a draw in the fight that happened, but it's almost like it was kind of a draw. Like, if you look at the whole fight, I didn't really see a clear winner there. But look, Mario DiTefano got the hand raise at the end of the day, and again, this is amateur. I was speaking afterwards to Solomon, and, you know, he was pretty upset by it all, talking of going pro. It was one of those ones where you kind of wanted to see it as a pro fight, like maybe with 5-minute rounds they could have got
exactly how I was thinking when I was watching back. Like, even after that first round, it was like this fight that round was only starting to take shape, and then it fucking was over. I was like, fuck, I wish this was over 5 minutes, because two great fighters there, and two of them have bright futures as well. Look, it was a great win for Mario.
But it goes to show that you have to, like, I feel like you have to just be throwing strikes, even if you're against cage at all. Just throw little pot shots, like, and it can literally win you rounds.
Yeah,
like, I know, like, I'm no fighter. I know nothing about the inner workings of fighting, but I know that if you just throw little elbows, little shots here and there when you're in clinch position, jump against the cage, that's what judges are looking for now. When you're in a close round like round one, that, like, literally one or two of those shots will swing around for you.
Indeed, it will.
It raises the question: do we need open scoring?
Oh, stop. No, we don't. No.
I had to bring it.
My goodness. We won't go down that road. Not today, maybe. But maybe
also, and, like, I know it's frustrating for Solomon, I'm sure, but, like, it's amateur. Like, at the end of the day, none of this fucking matters once you go pro. So
Exactly.
It's all experience.
Look, you said Solomon was a little bit upset. Mario Di Stefano had a few words to say to you after the fight as well, Andy.
Rightly so too. Rightly so. I mean, he gets called a rat. He gets lumped in as an SVG rat by a man you referenced there earlier on, Dennis Frimpong, Caoilte, a man who fought Solomon Simon not too long ago. And the war of words continues. Not often you see this in amateur MMA, but they do not like each other. It appears that they want to fight each other. It was kind of almost like not a copy, but like a very similar interview than the one I did with Dennis, but with Venom going the opposite way this time. So look, sign me up, get them in a cage.
That's it. If the talking has anything to go with, if the fight is anything close to that, it's going to be an exciting one. But look, at fair play to the Premier lads, fair play to everybody who competed on the card. Great show overall, really great main event. Like, I mean, that's high level amateur MMA right there between Mario and Solomon. Really close fight, like, very hard. I'd love to see
two very solid fighters.
Absolutely.
And Mario now 6-0 as an amateur. Like, he's kind of going from strength to strength here.
Big time.
Say whatever you want about the questioning the scorecards or whatever. We can debate that all day, but he got the win.
Yep, that's it. That's what's going to be down on Tapology or wherever. It will be there to stay no matter what anybody thinks.
Right after I just say, sure, those don't matter anyway.
yeah. But sure, look, these things happen in MMA. The World Youth Championships went down last week as well. Team Ireland went over there and pulled off a very successful tournament. Danni McCormack joined us today on the podcast to kind of talk about the tournament, the preparation, the success, the ins and outs, and a little bit about what's going on in her career as well. So we will bring it over to Caoilte to take that interview away with Danni.
And now we're joined by Danni McCormack on the back of a very successful trip to the IMMAF Youth World Championships with the cadet team. Danni, how are you getting on?
Good, not too bad. How are you all?
Not too bad at all now, thanks.
Good.
Were you jet lagged much after Abu Dhabi?
It wasn't too bad. Most of us flew home during the night on Saturday night, so you got a bit of sleep on the plane, and then we all had Sunday to kind of get back into things. So it wasn't too bad, in fairness. So
just to kind of go straight into the tournament, really, it was a incredible tournament to say the least for Ireland. It's probably one of the most successful, I imagine, for IMMA in general. Like, was there any kind of standout moments for you, and what was the entire trip like for you going over?
Yeah, like we were really excited this year. Like last year, myself and Alan were involved with the team as well. And I suppose we were just getting our footing with the team and just kind of getting going. So this year we were, much more excited and felt like a lot more at home with the team. We'd done serious work before we went over, and we knew like everybody on a personal level. So it was really cool arriving over there, and there was 40 odd juniors there, and it was just very exciting. It was a massive tournament. There was more entries than there had been the year before. So yeah, it was very exciting. And then the first day for us was obviously the highlight, because out of the 6 kids we had here in our own gym in Relentless, 5 of them were fighting on day 1. So that was our big day, very nerve-wracking in the first hour and a half. We had 4 kids fighting at the exact same time in the first hour and a half. So they were running from like one ring to another. So on day one, Team Ireland got 3 golds and 2 or 3 bronze, I think it was. So am I getting that right? I might be getting carried away myself. It was definitely 3 golds, and then I know Molly got a bronze. Maybe that was the only bronze. So that was massive. Those results going home, 3 gold medals on day one. It was huge. You know, I think like we'd broken records or something just on day one with those 3 kids. So yeah, that was definitely the highlight for me was day one, and then the rest of it was easier. It was less stressful.
I know on day one there was a bit of like logistical nightmare as well, and I think you had kids hanging around until pretty late in the evening time. How exactly do you have to balance kind of keeping them grounded and not really getting, you know, upset with how long they're waiting around and everything as well?
Well, you know, the best group that could happen to is the 12 to 13-year-olds. You know, they're so chilled. They're still kids. Like our own kids were doing cartwheels up and down the mat about 10 minutes before they were going out, and I had to tell them to stop cartwheeling and get ready to go out. So they were just having a great day. They were like at a fun fair all day long, and they didn't care what was happening. And I just told them all, be prepared that you're all going to have to fight again in the afternoon. Even though we presumed Emily had already got gold because she'd won out her round robin, and there was only one group of round robin, so there was no reason to continue into finals. So we told them all to be prepared to fight again, and not just our own crew but the other kids as well that from Team Ireland. You know, they were just so relaxed and so chilled. It's a bit different on the 16 to 17-year-old days. They get a little bit more stressed and more nervous, and they act more like adults. But the younger ones, like, oh, sure, you could say anything to them and they don't care. Like, they're great.
Is a lot of it about like tailoring how you approach all these kids, and because of all the different age groups and how, because each of them are going to be, I guess, see things a little bit differently, but you have to tailor everything for you and how you speak to them before competition and like the day before and all that.
Yeah, well, I guess the 16 to 17-year-olds, anybody could coach them. You know, you can get any coach off the street and say, would you do a session for this crew now? You know, they act like amateurs, they act like adults already. But it's the younger ones that it's a little bit different. So, you know, we really got to know them all in the squads. And it has to be a little bit more lighthearted with the 12 and 13-year-olds. The skills have to be brought back a little bit, the amount of details you give them. And the 14 and 15-year-olds are a bit more self-conscious as well, and they're starting to feel the nerves, but they don't have as much confidence, say, as the other crew, as the 16, 17-year-olds. So they need to be minded in their own way. A big difference between the age groups is what you should actually do in the fight. And I guess that's why our young ones here in Relentless are so successful. So the year before we went over and we seen Ukraine were just smoking people, and they did the same again this year. And it's quite simple. They go in with really aggressive striking. They get a big double leg. They pass into mount instantly, and they jump on an arm, and they take the kid's arm home with them like there's no mercy. So when we seen that last year, we went home and we taught our kids the exact same thing. Aggressive striking, big double leg, pass the guard, and into mount, arm bar, take the back. And if you're on your back, you have to be thrown up arm bars, triangles. So for the 12 and 13-year-olds, if they can do those couple of skills really well, they're going to win medals. It's a little bit different than the older it gets, the higher the details and the skills get. So, I guess tailoring how to coach them in terms of how to win and to make sure they're enjoying it is important.
Danny, just to jump in, is it kind of, like you're mentioning there, you know, making them enjoy it, it's important. I'm sure, you know, fighting's such an intense process, and especially, you know, adult cards and going to events as an adult, I imagine it's such a different experience than bringing, you know, a group of kids along. Is it important to kind of temper the intensity and keep it fun for the kids, because at the end of the day they are children going over?
Yeah, like beforehand we definitely before we left Ireland, like in the last few squads, we were really motivating them and telling them, you know, ye do way more than any other country. Ye've way more skills. Like, you know, we were like kind of making them a bit delusional, telling them that we were way ahead and that you're going to go over and you're going to smoke these kids, and you have got to walk around, be really confident and believe in yourself and stay together as a team. And like, we really built them up going over. And then once we got over there, we were a little bit more sympathetic to them, just constantly smiling, being happy around them, making sure it's fun, that we're not getting too worked up, we're not getting too stressed, knowing that when they're about to walk out, they're looking at the kid beside them, and like, we all know how they feel because we do it ourselves. So just trying to keep them happy, keep them smiling. And when it was all over, I made it a point of going around to like every kid and saying, only 1% of people in the whole world do what you've just done, regardless of whether you won, lost or got medals. Only 1%. I said 99% of the world are pussies, and you guys aren't. And that's very, very hard. So that's kind of my approach at the moment with it.
Well, it seems to have worked for you, Danny. It was a very successful competition for you overall, but like, all of that success doesn't come without good, solid preparation. Like, so, like, talk about some of the preparations. I know that you had a record number of squad sessions before the tournament itself. What kind of preparation goes in it for the whole team and to get those squad sessions together?
Yeah, so like, it was a battle to get those squad sessions, to be honest, because historically Team Ireland don't train well as a team at all levels, like from youth, junior, senior. People are in their own cliques, in their own gyms. They don't want to train together, and when they train together, they want to kill each other and you know, stay in their own groups. So to try to change that culture was huge, and we definitely have done that in the youths. So once the team was selected, we did 3 sessions before the nationals. Then we did the nationals, and then we said after the nationals, we're going to select the team, and we did a team selection day. And once the team was selected, it was explained to them at the very start, unless your mother dies, you can't miss training. That was it. So that was kind of like the joke going around, that the kids were coming up to me and saying, my mother hasn't died, but I have my sister's wedding. Is that okay? So they were coming up and asking, could they take a session off? Everybody showed up for training, bar like maybe 1 or 2 outliers that we had difficulties with. We trained together every single weekend leading up, and we became a team. And with that, I know like the team, building a team is great and all that. And that had really positive impact then for when we got over there, and it was easier to coach them, and it was easier like make sure everyone was doing okay over there. But more importantly, I guess, for those 8 weeks that we got with them, we had huge skill development. So we did a lot of stuff that they wouldn't be doing in their own gym. We worked on a lot of fence work that they wouldn't be doing. So defending and attacking on the fence, and then defending and attacking, wrestling out in the open mat. And then Alan was doing a lot of long distance striking with them and trying to teach them how to not get taken down while they're striking, because there's no headshots. So it was a very specific, small amount of information we gave them, but they had it off to a T. The only thing I'd say that we didn't do enough of was submissions this year. We probably should have really pushed the attacking and the submissions, because Ukraine and the USA at the top of the medals table, if you look at those results, it's all submission wins. They go in and they're getting their anaconda chokes, their arm bars off their back, they're triangling people in a second. So next year we're going to up the ante on the submission front. Youth MMA is very different to junior and senior, because there's no ground and pound, only for 16 and 17-year-olds. So if you're not throwing up submissions, you're not winning on top. If you're not throwing up submissions, that doesn't make any sense. The person on bottom is generally winning if they're throwing up submissions, not the person on top lying on top. So I don't know.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. But it's kind of a little bit of a different structure. Like, I know, you had that question written down, Caoilte, like kind of the structure between the youth setup and the senior setup. with the kind of selection process the next year? Is it going to be a little bit different, or is it the same? Are you happy the way things worked out this year? Is there any changes that you would make?
Yeah, so myself and Sergey here in Davern and Alan, the three of us come up with a whole criteria, like it's a 2-page document on what you have to do to get on the team. So I like it seems like it's pretty strict. You can get it off IMMAF if you want to have a read of it. You must agree to show up to all the training sessions. You must be off a certain belt level. So this year we're going to grade everybody. So everyone's meant to be graded to be a part of the Youth World Championships, and we're saying they're graded, but they're not really. So we don't know what level they're at. They also have to attend the national championships. There's a number of criteria, but at the end of the day, then it's going to come down to that one selection day where we narrow down the numbers. Next year is going to be even bigger. There's loads more kids coming out of the woodwork, especially with the big medal haul this year. So it's going to be tight for spots and for spaces. But basically, if there's any kids out there that's watching this or any juniors, you just need to keep showing up. That's how you're going to get on the team. Obviously, you have to be off a high skill level as well. But if you keep showing up from now until next April when we're selecting the team, your skills are going to keep up and every time you come to a session. So we're doing a squad session in October. November, we're going to run squads all year round. It's not going to be just like those 8 weeks. And we're going to bring the level up of all the juniors around the country in those months. And then after the nationals, the team will be selected. I'm also working on a Four Nations title for the youths as well at the moment. So fingers crossed that will come off and that we can run that here in Ireland before Christmas.
Danny, you've all this busy life with going on with the coaching side. You're going to Abu Dhabi, and you're balancing a career as well on the side of that. When do you plan on getting in there next? Because I see you're doing a lot of grappling, but we've yet to hear of any fights coming up. Is there any talk of you getting back in soon?
Yeah, so I was meant to be on September, Bellator September. They said they'd keep me a spot on the card, and then I fought in Malta, and after Malta they said the card was full. So I take that's because...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I take it that's because I lost, and like I get that, whatever. It is what it is. It's a business at the end of the day. I don't get too emotional about that. So if I'm not going to be on September, I don't know where I'm really at with Bellator at the moment. Are they going to keep me and then let me fight in February for them? Or what I'm really pushing for is to be on Milan in October. So if the card was full in September and that was the reason I wasn't on, then I should be on in Milan. So that's what is kind of going on in the background at the moment. But, I'm after having 2 losses in a row, so I wouldn't be surprised if the tides will turn for me in the next few months, and I could be going somewhere else. I don't know what Bellator are thinking or not thinking, but I really want to fight in November. So doing the grappling competitions is helping me get back into winning ways after having 2 losses, and is really good for my confidence and dealing with those like competition nerves and stuff. But I feel really confident now after the last kind of 4 weeks and after being away in Vegas. So I do want to be back in November and hopefully turn up Danny 2.0, as they all say.
What were your takeaways from your last fight, Danny, against Manuel? It was a really close fight. Personally, I thought you did enough to get the win. Did you think you did enough to get the win, or were you disappointed not to get the nod in the end?
Like, to be honest, I really wanted to take that fight to get back in winning ways, but it was probably too soon mentally for me to have taken it. And I had a great camp and all of that, but like in the week leading up to the fight, I was definitely struggling a bit mentally, just concerned about the result, which like isn't me at all. I fight because I like fighting and I like smashing people. I'm not in it for results. But after losing, that changed. So all week I was kind of struggling a bit in my own head, but I manned up and I went in there and I said, all right, I'm going to do the best I can. But from the bell, I was very much trying not to lose rather than trying to win. So I was doing just enough to stay up in the scorecards, but I could see she was weakening in front of me and I didn't go for the kill, kind of nervous after getting, TKO'd the time before. So when the fight was over, I was really disappointed with myself, with my performance. And in the corner, like John and Alan were screaming at me to wake the fuck up and do more. And I was really disappointed with my performance. But I said to myself, well, look, at least I'll have won, even though I had such a shit performance. I need to sort my shit out. And then the ref said I lost or whatever. The other girl's hand got raised. And I was like, oh my God, that's a double loss. Like I felt like I'd lost in my head mentally. And then I actually, lost a split decision. So do you know what? That's all I deserved on that night. I didn't deserve to win. There's way more in me than any of that I showed. So I'm happy for her. She got me on her topology, whatever. But it's probably what I really needed to make big changes in my mindset.
You spoke about that knockout or that TKO loss. I mean, we've seen it time and time again with other fighters where, you can have that little bit of a mental block after that has happened to you for the first time. We've seen it at the highest level. You see it at many levels. What for you do you have to do to kind of make sure that you're not going through that mental struggle ahead of another fight in future?
Like the real answer is I didn't get any help after that fight. Like I started seeing a performance coach, but I didn't see a sports psychologist. I didn't see a psychologist. I didn't get any mental training help. I just toughed it up myself. And like I definitely had PTSD after getting TKO'd in the 3 Arena in front of everyone. It was awful, God awful. And that affected me more than getting TKO'd. It was more getting TKO'd in front of everybody and just for the first time ever feeling like I cared about everybody's opinion, which is not me at all. And after I lost in Malta, I made changes. So I have a mindset guy, Mindset Mike. You might see him on Instagram. He's James Gallagher's mindset guy as well. He's like super cheesy American guy that's like really
it's a great name. It's a great name, Mindset Mike.
He's like Mr. Motivator, this lad is. So he's great. I see, like once a week I do a session with him, and then I see a psychologist as well, and kind of trying to deal with a bit of imposter syndrome and PTSD after the TKO in the 3 Arena. Because I guess like when you're 5-0 and everyone's telling you you're the next big thing, you don't fully believe it yourself, and you're walking around going, oh God, this could be all, the carpet could be pulled from under me at any second. And then when it is, you're kind of like, well, I expected that to happen. I can't believe it got gone so well mentally. But now I see it totally different. If I had my time again to have those fights again, I really believe in myself now, and I believe I'm meant to be here, and I believe I'll be in the UFC, and I believe I'll be in the top 10. I believe all those things, and I know I have those skills. I just need to believe that. My mind has to be with where my body's at. And I think the next 3-4 years, it's going to be all or nothing for me. And then I'll be finished and I'll be concentrating solely on coaching and looking after all these kids. So if they can go out to Abu Dhabi and win gold medals and smoke people when they're 12, I sure as hell should be doing it as a fully grown adult.
Danny, losing's never easy, but was it easier to take this time around, having already kind of gone through the mental hurdles of the TKO loss in the 3 Arena? Was it a bit easier to swallow this time around?
No, it was way worse. It was way worse. So the 3 Arena, like I was pretty concussed after, and I was shocked, and it was like a shock, and it was, you got caught kind of thing. But like, I didn't really believe deep down you just got caught. I could have got caught at any point in the fight. But after Malta, like I came out with the cage, and like I went outside, and I just got straight into an Uber, and like my whole world fell apart. And that whole night, I was up all night saying I was done, that I wasn't gonna continue, that it was too much. And yeah, like Alan fell asleep, and then I just like walking around the hotel like a lost dog. And then I just said to myself, like, you can't quit in yourself. You can't, like, you have to, if nothing else, if I never get into the UFC, if I never become a world champion, if I quit now, I'll never forgive myself. So yeah, Malta was really, really devastating. Devastating because I know mentally I was just feeling so weak all the way leading up, and then it was just like, it was awful. Like I don't think anyone ever want to fight if I could give them that feeling for 10 minutes. But you know what, as John Kavanagh always says to us, the winning wouldn't feel as good as it does if losing didn't feel as bad as it does. You know, that's the other.
It's terrible that you kind of have to go through those low points in a career. Look, I know you have a great relationship with Bellator, and you've always, like, to be fair to you, you've never been afraid to speak your mind, even within the promotion. You know, the fact that they haven't had a weight class for you. Is it any, you know, is it a harm that they haven't put you on this September card? Like, is it almost a blessing in disguise? Like, you're talking about UFC there. I know there's a good relationship there with Bellator. I'm sure you'd go back and fight there, and I know they pay well, but you know, is it almost more beneficial for you to go a different path at this point?
Yeah, like, to be honest, I think it's a blessing in disguise, because I don't fully know how I'd react going into the 3 arena after the last February, you know. So I, like, if I want to be like the strongest person I can imagine and like really, really believe in myself, then I'd need that challenge right now. But if I don't get that challenge right now, and I get to fight somewhere else with a little bit less pressure and get back into the winning column, then I think that would be a better option for me in that sense. You know, Bellator have been really great to me. Jude, Samuel, he's a legend. He's always been in my corner, and he's the one that's constantly looked after me in Bellator. And I don't know what the future holds, but I know before I retire, I need to do everything I possibly can to get into the UFC, get into the top 10, and just go for it. And my heart isn't in Bellator, especially because there's no division, there's no belt. So if it was all about money, I think we'd all be doing something different. We wouldn't be fighting. And I'm not like a 44-year-old man, not worrying about having kids or whatever, and just out there to fight for money. Like, my situation is different. So as much as I love everything Bellator have done for me, for my sake, I need to get into the UFC, and I need to prove to myself I am what I think I am.
Ever since those losses, you've gone over to America and you've been training the UFCPI, so you're training Extreme Couture, and I think there's 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu as well. What was it like going over to America and mixing it up with other bodies and experiencing a whole different country for training as well? And how is it going to benefit you going forward?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, I loved it. I needed some time away myself in my own head, and to remind myself like what an animal I am. And when you're at home with your own training partners and your own coaches, you know, you can feel a bit weak sometimes and feel a bit self-conscious. But I went out to Vegas and I just went for it. They spar twice a week over there in Extreme Couture on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I was ready like half an hour before with my gear on, ready to rock and roll. And I didn't give a shite who they were. I couldn't care less. I was going over there to kill everybody. I was there to fight. And I fought three or four sparring sessions in a row. I was the only one to keep showing up every Tuesday and Thursday for anyone that was willing to come in with me. So it was, for me, that was the main thing. I went over to Vegas to fight. You know, I didn't go over to learn anything. I did learn some jiu-jitsu off a girl that I fought in the World Championships years ago, Michelle Oliveira. She's a black belt. I did some training with her. But apart from that, it was sparring really hard. You know, Extreme Couture is exactly what it says on the tin. They're extreme. They go hard. They do the hard sparring. They pad up and they kill each other twice a week. So yeah, it was really beneficial for me, and I could see myself going over there 2 or 3 times a year to literally go over and fight some random girls that I don't give a shit about, and just remind myself that I'm an animal, because I don't have a lot of background. I don't have a lot of experiences to be pulling from. So the more of those like hard spars I can get, the better. And the PI, of course, is pretty cool. You know, that was a fun part of the trip as well.
Go on, Danny, tell us, who was the hardest spar of them all?
Who was the hardest spar of them all? Oh, God. Do you know, I sparred this fella, hillbilly lad, literally proper American hillbilly lad, and big long ponytail. Because on the Thursday, not many girls showed up. Like, I was well able for all the girls, to be honest, on the Tuesday. There wasn't anybody that was giving me any trouble over there. But Casey O'Neill obviously is injured, and there was a few others that were getting ready for fights. So the top dogs weren't on the mat. But on the Thursdays, I'd spar the lads, and there was this hillbilly fella that says to me at the start, I'm going to go easy on you now, okay? As in telling me if I'm winning at any point, it's only because he's going easy. I thought, this bollocks. So I head kicked him straight away. And the minute it started, and the two of us fighting, and it got a bit out of control, and he took the side of my head off with a hook. And this black eye here it keeps re-swelling up anytime I get a little bang, and that was because of this hillbilly lad. So I'll always remember him. He was definitely my hardest spar over there. He tried to kill me.
Danny, you know, with all your great work with the youth squad and that you have been doing over the last couple of years, I hear there's a new nickname on the go for you. I hear they're calling you Danni McCormack now. We were kind of having a bit of a laugh and a joke about it ourselves, because you're kind of like the mammy for everybody on the Irish scene right now. But I hear that you're actually being labelled that or in recent months, have you?
Yeah, like these kids in my gym, they're getting too bloody big for their own boots. Last year, a lot of them have turned like 12, and now whatever happens from 11 to 12, like they're all full of the cockiness and the wit. So where they were calling me Mammy for the last 6 months, and they have this joke going, you know, Danny Mammy, and they do be sending me, you know, in the WhatsApp group, they do be sending me gifts and whatever. So then when Sean says Danny Mammy, I says, that's already going. Don't encourage them. They love it, so they do. So you know, I've been called worse things, so I'll take it. So I will.
So you'll drop the Danny, just Mammy McCormack from now on.
Oh God, I don't know about that.
Danny, we really appreciate the time you took to speak with us today. Really appreciate the honesty as well, you know, and sharing your own experiences. And, you know, we really appreciate the hard work that you're putting in at youth level, at grassroots level in Irish MMA as well. Not only yourself, but the rest of the coaching team and the squad, you know, putting themselves out there and competing. So congratulations on the success of the youth championships, and long may that success continue.
Thank you. And before I go, I'll be killed if I don't mention a few of the kids, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Because they'll be Mammy, Danny and me all week otherwise. So the first of all, not from our gym, but 2 people that are like huge stars to look out for in the future. And like, I'm definitely not blowing smoke up these lads' arses now. They're so talented. One is Owen Masoliver, he's called. He won 3 fights over there in a row, all by finish, and then he lost to the champion in the quarterfinals. So he lost to the Kyrgyzstani lad that got the gold medal. So Owen like really got done out hard by not getting a medal, just meeting that guy in the quarters. He's a wizard on the ground. And then of course Alex Keogh from SBG Nace, he you know, he had a bad decision against him, and he ended up not getting into the medals. Another lad from SBG Nace is Daniel. I can't pronounce his surname. He's from Latvia, and he has very little experience in MMA at all, or very little experience in anything but wrestling. And he put on amazing performances over there, and I think he won 2 or 3 fights in a row. He was a real like raw underdog, and he's a big one to look out for next year. He's still in the youths next year, I'm pretty sure. So they were like the ones not from our gym. And then from our own gym, All our kids were so proud of. So Olivia, Ali, Molly, Siren and Ali Siren, their sisters, Kayla Galooly, who was one of the youngest competitors in the whole World Championships, just turned 12 to show up over there. She got fastest TKO on the first day. She made some poor girl from India get sick. And then there's Emily Hannock, who won a gold medal, and Tyler Byrne. So they're all my crew, and I have to give them a shout out because they train 6 days a week, 2 hours a day. They never complain. They're always smiling, and they make my evenings worthwhile here in Relentless because of those kids and all the others that's along with them. So just wanted to give them a quick shout out.
Fair play to them. The future of Irish MMA.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Danny, for joining us today. And we look forward to chatting to you down the line. Hopefully you get a fight sorted for yourself sooner or later. And like I said, wish you continued success with the youth set up there in Ireland. Credit to you, the rest of the coaches, for all the hard work that you're putting in and all the time that you're putting in as well.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Lovely stuff. Great to hear from Danny. Congratulations, like we said on the interview, to them and their success in Abu Dhabi. And always great to hear from Danni Mammy McCormack, as she is now going to be known on the rounds. We shall.
Where would you like to, just on that one, where would you like to see Danny go next?
I think what I would like to see Danny do is talk to Bellator, terminate the contract by mutual consent, work her way towards the UFC, whether it's through the Contender Series, whether if it's maybe fighting another once or twice on the European circuit, or maybe taking a fight over in the US somewhere. It just seems to me that, Danny's kind of steering away from Bellator a little bit from what she said on the interview. And I think, where her mindset is at right now, it might be the best move for both parties. There's no division there for her in Bellator. So what is she fighting for there? You know what I mean? She's going to have to figure it out with Bellator. Hopefully she does. Hopefully we see her in there soon. But, a very good, open, honest interview, which we really appreciate too. And she always does that, though. She's always very open and honest. And we want to see her back in there, back in the win column as soon as possible. So hopefully Bellator either give her the last fight in her contract, or they can figure it out and we'll see her fight elsewhere. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'd like to see her in Invicta.
Yeah, good shout.
Over in the US, to be honest, anywhere over in the US, one of those promotions, just so she was saying about the, let's take the pressure off a little bit. So go over stateside, get some of those more hard spars in, and then hop in one of those American promotions and get a bit of experience out of it while you're at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Other newsworthy items this week: Cage Conflict announced a couple of fights for October 15. And Caoilte, I'm going to give you the floor for this. One of the most prolific, one of the most well-known amateurs in the Irish scene, Alexander O'Sullivan, is set to make his debut. I mean, Alexander has fought multiple times. He holds the record for the most amateur fights from an Irish fighter. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just give us a breakdown on Alexander O'Sullivan. He's been amateur for many years now, has racked up a really, really good record, and I'm really excited to see him make the jump over into the professional ranks.
What can I say? He's been around the scene for, I don't know, ages and ages now. He's racked up 30 fights. He's got himself a load of medals on the IMMAF circuit. I think he's got a European bronze, a silver, and I think he got 2 world bronze medals as well. I could be wrong there, but I think it's that. We've been waiting for this we've been waiting for this for ages now. For him to turn, it's one of the most highly anticipated pro debuts in Ireland, in my opinion. It should be. He was a fantastic amateur, and now you're seeing him transition over. And what I'm really interested to see here is you see him. He traveled with the Irish team to Abu Dhabi and to other events. He was coaching the same with the Four Nations. He's a head coach of CMAC, so he's coming from after a wealth of knowledge from the amateur circuit, and then from being a coach as well as that, and now going as a pro. I'm interested to see how he is as a pro, because he was so good as an amateur. Now I will admit, look, the opponent, can't even remember the name now. Sorry.
Mario Di Giattano from Centurion Club over in Mandulena, which is obviously an Italian gym, I would assume. 0-4 in his professional career so far. So I think it probably will be safe to say, while we are excited to see Alexander O'Sullivan getting in there and competing on the professional ranks, he's probably faced tougher competition in the amateur ranks.
It's kind of annoying, this matchup.
Yeah.
Oh, it wrecks my head. He could go in there. I'll be honest with you, I could see him going in there beating people who've fairly decent pro records. It's just look.
It takes it kind of takes for me. It takes the shine off it a little bit, because it's like this, as you said, this is a guy you're like, oh wow, Alexander O'Sullivan's making his pro debut. You want to get excited, and then you see the matchup, and it's like, oh right, well, he's going to go and smash this. And your man's been finished 4 times. It's not even that he's lost 4 times. He's been finished 4 times in a row. It's like, what's the point of this?
And we don't know the insides and out. Maybe there's not too many people lining up to fight somebody as decorated as Alexander O'Sullivan. It's not his fault. You know what I mean? Maybe we can talk to the lads at Cage Conflict ahead of this and kind of get there. It's not easy to find matchups on the regional scene, and Cage Conflict have done a really great job to bring over some international competition as well. Well, I would have to agree with you too. I mean, this fight, the excitement comes with just getting to see Alexander in there and getting to see him kick off his professional career, not necessarily the matchup itself, because you'd expect from what we've seen so far that Alexander O'Sullivan would likely go in there and beat someone like Marco Diacchietani relatively easy. So it'll be interesting to see. It's kind
of like a boxing showcase fight almost. I am still very excited to see Alexander fight, but yeah, it's just a strange one. But yeah, fair play to him. I mean, it seems like he's been running the gym for a number of years now as well.
He's at the same time as getting himself ready. He does. He's bringing through some serious talent there in CMAC as well. So it'll be great to see Alexander. I think we all share that sentiment. Great to see him in there. Great to see him kick off his professional career and get over this one, and we'll be on to the next one. I mean, we're kind of talking as if he's going to win, but I think we have to talk like that. I mean,
the expectation is I expect him to go in and finish this lad.
Yeah, absolutely. I would too. Jared Burns was also announced for the card as well, against Nuruddin Hezrat, who will make. I want to believe that he has fought a Cage Conflict before.
He was scheduled to fight Jer Harris, and then that fight fell through.
Yes, that's right.
But so then he's scheduled. Were they scheduled to fight again on this cage fight series? But that's not happening either. I'm a bit confused.
No, Jer was fighting that Swedish fella on Cage Fight series, and they just.
I think this Hazard lad is on that Cage Fight series too, though, as well. I'm pretty sure I've seen him on the bill for that. So maybe he's fighting someone else, and then he's coming over to fight this fight. I think he's got 2 fights booked at once.
Indeed. But yeah, this is for the flyweight title, so it mean that maybe Jer's relinquishing that title for now. Maybe otherwise occupied with Cage Fight series, but maybe I think it might be a good idea. We can bring the lads on if they were willing to come on and have a chat with us ahead of that card. We can get the lowdown and everything and all the happenings. But yeah, Cage Conflict, unprecedented, October 15th, 2022 in the Devonish again. They always put on a great show, so I'm excited to see. By the time we record again, they're going to have a bunch of other fights announced for that card. Yeah,
Jared Burns had a nice win as well. Yes. And one of the last ones as well, so looking forward to seeing him back in there. Big
time. Cage Legacy, they had a face-off that has yet to be released yet, which looks like a barrel of laughs, a barrel of fun. Richard Caoilte and John Redmond sitting at one table is only going to bring some kind of level of entertainment, lads, isn't it?
And then the image of just the size of the lads, and then Declan Kennedy's in the middle.
I know, it's hilarious. But we're going to look forward to coming out. I know Jerry was the guy in the middle there from KO.
Come on, Jerry,
legend Jerry. So. It'd be interesting to see what comes from that.
Richard Caoilte is just a wind-up merchant, isn't he?
Hilarious. I think that we kind of probably will try and level up and see which is more exciting or entertainment, that face-off or the fight. But we'll enjoy both.
One of them is going to become a world champion as well with this fight. So.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Right. Fair play to them.
So high stakes.
High stakes indeed. Caoilte, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the kind of announcement. Limo Griffin came up and announced last week that there's a bit of a kind of a partnership that has been formed between the Irish Mixed Martial Arts Association and Tajikistan. They're kind of
say it again there, Ian.
Tajikistan, is it? Did I get that right?
Tajikistan.
They're forming a partnership anyway between the two nations. What does it mean for IMMA? And should we be getting excited about this?
Well, I see no reason not to get excited, to be honest. Any partnership like that is, it could be a statement of intent, or it could also be just, I don't know, anything really. It could be like a nothing or throwaway thing that's just, we're going to help each other, whatever. But no, I feel like this is a statement of intent anyway. From speaking with Tajikistan representatives, I'm representatives in IMMAA, and then Tajikistan have also done this with the Netherlands. So there seems to have two partnerships going on there. And it's going to help both parties. So if this, I think they're talking about, cooperating in terms of training, potentially doing tournaments, seminars, stuff like that. I don't think nothing's like solidified yet, so I don't think they're after laying out a plan of what they're going to do over X amount of years, because I imagine there's it's going to be funding and all this crack that's going to come into it, and it's not, I can't imagine it's going to come, if you're going to go train in Tajikistan, it's not going to be cheap. But look, let's say they can do a training camp or they can train together. That's going to mean that's going to make a massive difference, because it means you get to go over, train with some new bodies who like all they do is train MMA and wrestle. Like in Tajikistan, a lot of them, what they do is their weekends, what they will do, they'll just go to the local wrestling tournament or sambo tournament. They just go compete every weekend. Now, a lot of Irish do that as well, don't get me wrong, but it's a different look, and it's only going to benefit. It's great partnership to have, and hopefully it actually flourishes and turns into something really positive for all parties involved.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it is a good thing. It's always good to kind of keep these partnerships alive and learn from each other's kind of methods of growing fighters into a base level of skills that they need to compete at the highest level. And hopefully this all turns out to be a positive impact on IMMA and Tajikistan. Hopefully we can talk about that as well a little bit more down the line as well. So on to the next one. A couple of Cage Warriors fights have been announced as well. Adam Shelley is going in there against El Haj Ndiaye on November 4th. Takamandu will make his long-awaited Cage Warriors debut on November 12th against Sam Kelly. And James Webb is back in action again against Samir Kadi. Andy, take us through those three fights.
Yeah, geez, I haven't actually looked at any of their opponents really, to be honest, so I don't have much to say. But yeah, no, like I think that London card is stacking up nicely, considering Paul Hughes and Jordan Vucenic are topping it on Friday the 4th of November. So we've got now Adam, we've got James Webb. I believe there'll be more additions to that card also. If I'm led to believe, don't have concrete information yet on that, so I don't want to say anything. No? But I would expect to see Ryan Shelley on that card. But TBD.
I'd expect to see Caolan Loughran on that card as well. 2BD as well. Hopefully we'll have more news for you on the next episode.
Yeah, this is more I imagine that, like, I'd say we'll probably see a few FAI lads, maybe like a Paddy McCarry on one of those cards as well. So keep an eye out on SevereMMA.com. But yeah, no, good to see them back. Obviously Adam Shelley coming off a tough loss there against James Power last time out, so El Haj Ndiaye, I'm pretty sure he's like pretty hard hitter. I haven't really looked into him that much, but
we'll have plenty of time to kind of break that down in between now and when the card goes down.
James Webb back again after another tough loss as well, so the two of them are coming back after tough losses, and obviously Taka kind of a long awaited debut on Cage Warriors, so
absolutely
I'm excited.
Over in my neck of the woods, McKinley Academy is fighting at BFL 74.
That one again?
No, I'm not going to do that one again. On October 12th, we can talk a little bit more about that as well. But he's over there with likes of Hugh Gleason and everyone training out with Vancouver, and has performed on a couple of those BFL cards as well. Shauna Bannon versus Nadia Vera has been officially announced since the last time we were recording. A really great fight against two tough alumni, Caoilte, going at it here.
Yeah, it's I love seeing it. You get two people that came through the amateur ranks at IMMAF, did really well, and like now they're meeting as pros, both undefeated. Someone's always got to go. I love it. Nadia's as tough as they come. Like she was fantastic as an amateur. I watched one or two of her fights as a pro as well. She was fighting a tournament in Budo Centro. I think it's in Mexico, and I was really impressed there then as well. I did not expect to ever see this fight. But
how big a threat does she pose to? I know nothing about Nadia. How big a threat does she pose to Shauna?
So honestly, I would be favouring Shauna in this one. I think Shauna would be maybe the more rounded and more skillful of the two. Now but the thing with Nadia, since turning pro, she's looked a lot better, and you can never count her out. She's when I mean she's tough as nails, like she's as tough as they come. She'll keep coming forward. She's serious chin. So maybe she could have a bit of a threat on the ground. I can't see her having as much of a threat at the striking, but then again, Shauna has been fantastic with her grappling recently as well. So it's a mad one really, because either, to be honest with you lads, it's going to be one of those fights that's just going to be exciting.
So like,
fireworks all over.
Likely the toughest test of Shauna's, or on paper.
Oh no, it's I would, for our pro career, this would be the top. I would wholeheartedly say this is the toughest test. Yeah, by a bit.
Yeah, I think so too. I would imagine so, and that would be to be expected in Invicta FC. There's no real walkover fights there. Believe that goes down on September 28th in Oklahoma. Really excited to see Shauna getting in there and competing in Invicta and making her debut. And it'll be exciting to see how she gets along there. There'll be plenty more talk about that as well as we move along. Fights a little closer to home, a bit closer to recording. Nadine Abbott Bissett will make her debut for Combate Global. I believe, Caoilte, there's another change of opponent since. I think this is her third opponent now.
I think she's been offered
four more.
Yeah, I think she's been offered more than like 3 as well. But it's the third opponent that's.
Everybody must be going back and watching her tape at the Worlds last year.
She'll be fighting Jamie by the next week.
Yeah.
They're all afraid of the backpack. They're all afraid to get rear naked choked. But sure. Yeah, it looks like every episode now there seems to be a new fight for her. But another week, another fight for Nadine Abbott Bissett. She's fighting Ariana Melendez, 2-1. Hasn't fought in Combate yet, but has fought in Cage Titans and Triton fights. Won both of those, but lost her debut on Invicta. So a fairly, 2-1 as a pro. Nice little bit of experience there. So a decent test. I think she's 26 as well. So, and has fought as a strawweight, I believe. So moving down to atomweight. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. Good tough fight for first fight. It could end up being changed at this rate now, the way things are going. But look, hopefully the fight kind of stays on the card and Nadine can get to make her pro debut without any blips in the road.
Yeah, I mean, you're after reporting all of her you're after getting a couple of scoops out of this fight already. So maybe
looking at yeah. Go on, get a few more opponent changes there.
Yeah. Keep sending
I'm cursing them at this point now. Everyone I report just falls out.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see Nadine getting in there. As we said before, Andreas Binder is going in there in Cage Fight Series on September 9th. He will look to get back into the win column. I believe Jar Harris is going to be on that card.
I don't think he is.
Is he pulled out of that fight?
I think that fight's off. Yeah, I think he's still coming back from an injury.
That's unfortunate for him. I know. Yeah, he spoke to us a couple of weeks back as well, and was going through that kind of recovery process. So actually, looking at speak of the devil, looking at his opponent, Nazardinov is taking on Nazardine Hezrat. So. Kind of swapping in around there. It's kind of like a trio of switch ups there, but unfortunately Jerry isn't recovering that. I know that he'll be disappointed not to get the chance to go in there, but look at no point in rushing these things as well. When you're injured, rushing yourself back, and he kind of alluded to that himself.
That Binder fight's kind of flown under the radar a little bit. I feel like be interesting to see him back in there and how he rebounds from a loss.
Yeah, it is. It listed here in Topology as a tournament semi-final as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know anything about that. Maybe, oh, look, and then there's another one. Yeah, so it seems like there's a little bit of a mini tournament going on there. I don't know. Daniel Conrad versus Tyron Chavero is the first of that bracket. And obviously, Andreeas is going in there against Spain's Christian Vieira, which will serve as the co-main event on that card. I know he had a really great performance in his last Cage Fight Series fight. Great to see him get the co-main event slot coming in here on September 9th as well. Ireland's adopted son Johnny Walker goes in there and fights against
Shawnee Schuler.
Shawnee Schuler. Shawnee Schuler's going in there to fight Ian Kutilaba. I believe that's on 278. Is it? Or is it on the next fight night card?
279, I believe, isn't it?
279, yeah. Sorry, we're just gone past 279. So that kind of rounds us up for the latest kind of news or upcoming fights. Which
Virtus MMA this weekend.
Oh, Virtus MMA. Excuse me. How could I forget?
A new show up in Oma. I think it's in oh god, where is it now? It is, hang on, give me a second here. Oma St. Denis GAA, is that it? Or St. I thought it was Healy Park. Anyway, there's a show up in Oma called Virtus MMA. Looking forward to it. They've got a great little Grand Prix going on with some flyweights, which apparently they're gonna just decide kind of 2 minutes before they walk out who's fighting who, which I think is I love the drama of that. To be honest with you, like, what I want to see them is I want them to see, like, have them all up on a stage, do the draw, and then just literally walk from the stage into the cage. That's what I want.
Did you see the trophy?
The other two lads just waiting there. No, I did. I saw a photo of the trophy. It looks huge. It kind of looks like the KSW ones, if I recall. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks like one of them. I love it. It's a great idea. It's just all different. Like, the entire promotion's a bit different. Like, compared to your standard MMA, it seems like they're
crypto
really
bonuses for the winners.
They've got fight kits given out as well. It's all together. I love
Fair
it.
play to them.
Love it. Fair play to him. Hopefully it goes off and it's a successful show. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be away on a few holidays, so I won't get to watch it live, unfortunately, but I'll definitely be watching it back. I know there's a couple of good fights on it. Keenan Peace versus Paul Buckley. It's at the top of the card as well. I know that Damian McKenna is there against Carlos Ibanez Aguayo. So, you know, it's going to be a decent night of fights. Obviously, we have the flyweight tournament, which is going down. We've got anything, I mean, maybe I'm bar me naming out all the fights. Is there any fights that you guys are looking forward to on the card? You know, obviously Gary Rooney's going to be competing on that tournament as well. Anything else stand out to you on that card, lads?
I'm hoping that Kieran Coogan and Gary Rooney get matched up in the semi-finals, just so we can see it this week. To be honest with you, yeah, that's the fight that I'd like to see.
Here's one that I'm, like, not to hype up someone before they've made their debut, but someone I'm really looking forward to see is Senan Coakley. I believe he's the younger brother of Craig Coakley, and if anyone doesn't know Craig Coakley, how do you watch combat sports in Ireland? Yeah. DCA fighter Craig Coakley's younger brother Senan. I'm pretty sure they're brothers. But anyway, so with a name like that coming from, I think he fights out of Team Rhino and then trains in DCA as well. Like, we could see a brand new prospect come to emerge from this card. So I'm really excited to see him make his debut. And besides that, then the tournament is probably the standout for me.
Yeah, that Callum Peace and Paul Buckley fight is probably going to be pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Always like a Paul Buckley fight, and Callum, if we recall, had that kind of crazy DQ win recently over in the UK.
Oh, is that it? And your man ended up on Only Cans MMA afterwards.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Your man seemed like anyway, I'll choose my words.
Easy tiger. That kind of rounds us up. Like I said, we'll cover that Virtus card in a little bit more detail on the next episode as well.
Bring a show to the Republic of Ireland next time, Virtus, please.
Please do, if you can.
We want more shows. Apparently there might be a show in Dublin towards the end of the year.
Hopefully.
Who knows?
Give us Waterford or something. Go away from Dublin for a while.
Don't mind those other counties.
Jesus Come on now with that. Now you're being outnumbered here now, Andy. We want him.
Listen, Mr. Canada. Come on now. There's no jumbo jet for you to fly over here now.
I was terribly disappointed that I didn't arrive for the Premier card, but sure, how's it ever? We won't fall out with the lads over it.
The lion pricks.
Dean said he's coming after Niall for not sending that.
Look, lads, let's go into questions. Great question here, which might stem.
But first, sorry, I interrupted as usual. Can you send us in questions on like the recent events? So we love the questions, but we're just getting way too many of the name your favorite fighters. Like who's your ones to watch? Like it's the same. You can only answer them so many times. So yeah, if you have any questions on like recent events, upcoming event, you know, kind of fights that have just happened, signings, fight news, whatever. But yeah, we do
appreciate the support, but
we do like them though.
We'd rather not repeat ourselves every week and say what fighters we're looking forward to seeing, and you know, there's just too many out there, and it just kind of stems the same conversation over and over again.
Yeah, it's just boring for you guys to listen to as well, to hear the same shit. Like
Andy will just be on the fence and he'll not be able to pick anybody, and things get awkward. And
whoever I've interviewed most recently.
Right. A very good question from No Kick Just Notting on Twitter asked about viewing the old guard and the new guard differently, since a lot of them have started to overtake the old guard in terms of fight experience. So, I mean, this is something that exists throughout all combat sports. Is like you need to walk before you can run. I think, as you said it, Andy. You know, the old guard paved the way for the new guard. More opportunities to fight, more shows. You know, stuff like IMMAA didn't exist. I mean, you know, the old guard is always going to remain the old guard, and then there'll be always new waves of fighters that come through. So you're going to be always dealt with a kind of conveyor belt of this happening, and then, you know, fighters become coaches, and you know, they'll bring on and they'll use their experience to share with the new up and coming fighters. But I think without any of the old guard, you don't have any of the new guard, I guess, guys. Is there any takeaways or anything that you'd like to add to that question?
Do you want to go first, or will I, Caoilte?
Go on, Andy. Leave you go first.
So the way I look at this, and granted I wasn't there back then, but I'm sure you guys can talk a bit more about this, is I think that the back when the old guard were fighting, right, it was a much more cohesive scene in Ireland, where, you know, it was just more as a tightly knit group, and you had the same fighters kind of fighting on different shows, and you'd go from show to show, week to week, and it kind of just meant more to the fans watching. You had a sense of who was the best, what fights meant. I feel like nowadays the scene is very segregated, in which you have certain gyms fighting on certain shows, and, you know, not even through policy, it's just like take the show just there at the weekend. Like, it was a lot of like fighters from that region, SBG Clonmel, some of the SBG fighters, Team Rhino Waterford. If you go up north, you might have the FAI guys. If you go to, you know, a Bellator, for example, you have all SBG Ireland. You look at a Cage Wars, you've got FAI, or you've got FAI, maybe Team Rhino, maybe Team KF. It's kind of hard to get a sense of, it's kind of hard to get invested, because it's like, everything is just kind of spread out. Half the fights you don't really know why they're meaningful, whereas like there's this kind of close-knit family community bond, where this is this tiny sport that's starting to grow, and you can't even see the UFC as like a realistic possibility. So when someone gets anywhere close to it, it's like this huge thing, and that's just not the case anymore. So I think that's why it just meant so much more to the community back when the likes of a Chris Fields or a Philip Mulpeter or whoever would get a win, or an Owen Roddy versus Shannon Googherty, like this type of stuff. I just think it meant more than some of the fights, even if they are a higher standard now and fighting better guys, which I'm not saying is the case always, but yeah, well,
it just wasn't, there wasn't that level of competition there, and wasn't that level of opportunity there back in the day. Like, I remember, you know, back in the day, it wasn't called mixed martial arts. There was posters there, and it was called extreme cage fighting. You know what I mean? So it's after growing into this great thing where now we have the ability to come on and talk about it, because there's so much action happening every 2 weeks. We're blessed in how well it has progressed. And it's the likes of that old guard that came up, like you said, Owen Roddy, Paddy Houlihan, Cottle Pendred, you know, obviously Connor, who really helped propel it and get it to the next stages as well. And, you know, without those guys, and it goes the same in any kind of sport, you draw inspiration off the old guard. You know, you there's people there, and we talked to Ger Harris, who said that, you know, he used to go and watch Owen Roddy fights, and he was inspired, and Owen Roddy was representing Ballymun, and that's where Ger Harris would get his inspiration from. We've heard many fighters saying getting inspiration from Conor McGregor and all of those, but, you know, that's what is needed. And there's a generation of fighters right now who are going to inspire younger fighters as well in another 5 or 10 years as well. So we're definitely running in the right direction, but you can never discount what the old guard has done, whether it comes to mixed martial arts, whether it comes to hurling, whether it comes to football, whether it comes to boxing or soccer, whatever you want to call it.
They're learning off VHS tapes or like information that someone went to a seminar somewhere. All right, I'll bring that back, and, you know, we'll share that info. Like, look at, like,
there was a time when only John Kavanagh and Andy Ryan were the two only black belts in the country, like, you know what I mean? And now
here's an example, like Max Lally as a teenager is overtraining with the Danaher Death Squad. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's a different world now.
Caoilte, give us your lowdown on everything.
Jesus, you fucking summed it all up there now. You took away from it. No, I'm only messing. The whole, I think a lot of it, look, it's opportunity, kind of availability of training, bodies, you name it, all those things is just, like, they're massive factors into why, like the old guard didn't really have all this on a plate for them. Now we can stream an amateur card in bloody Kilkenny, no offense, Ian. But like back in the day, you wouldn't even get that on telly. We would have been having cage contender with the, you know, maybe we wouldn't have all the fights on Setanta Sports on a tape delay, maybe a few weeks later or whatever. So that plays a factor too. The opportunity probably wasn't even there. Like, you know, it was very rare to get to the UFC was, say, it wasn't even talked about really. Like, I'd say Ian could probably vouch more than me now for going very far back now, but like,
well, even like you're looking back at the amateur scene, and which was like the old MMA leagues, and I know Tommy Long asked the question about the current MMA league and what's their take on it as well. And I can't say the old MMA leagues were just meetups really, where you're on the mats, no headshots. That was what the amateur game was back when I was around and when I was fighting amateur. You just showed up at a sports hall in Dublin or in Galway or in Cork, and there was 3 or 4 meets in a year. You fight 3 times in one day. You get points for winning, you get extra points for finishing. Whoever finished on top of the table would take home a medal or get more points and move it on to the next event. And you build off that. And those were just on normal training mats, no shots to the head. But now we have young fighters who have the opportunity to go and represent their country for IMMAF, and they can get that international experience right now. But all of those things are in place through the likes of the old guard, who are looking to create these opportunities for the new fighters. Because, you know, I think, you know, obviously Irish MMA has been through many ups and downs, you know, through the growth, and then obviously the unfortunate death of João Carvalho, which kind of gave it a knock, and now we're trying to bounce back with the regulation of the sport in the country. Organizations like IMMAA setting up can only but help the sport in the country. Not everybody is on board, and not everyone is on the same wavelength with it, and that's okay as well. But I mean, I think that generally speaking, that you know, IMMAA has had a really a positive effect, and we're only kind of getting going with this and how much of an effect it's going to have on Irish MMA as a whole. And there's going to be other things that will come down the line, hopefully, whenever it happens, the regulation of the sport in the country, it getting recognized by the government, potentially some kind of investment or some kind of funding would go to help these athletes and these kids. I mean, to me, the way I look at it as a long-term number one fan, like I love MMA and I have loved it for a long time. I mean, it's no different to me. What's the difference between a young kid watching their soccer hero play soccer, watching a young kid seeing a hurling player and getting inspired at that? These kids get inspired off their heroes, and I think they deserve the platform to be able to go out there and represent their country, do it safely, get the support. I wish there was, it's not easy down in the Republic right now, guys, to throw on events. You know what I mean? It's a lot more easier up the north. You know, we'll talk about it a little bit more down the line, hopefully. But like, just to go back to the Premier FC show, they did not have an easy run of it to put that show together, and
they're not 100% making a loss on that. I would say
100%.
Guessing, but like,
and the same can be said for Cage Legacy as well. It's not easy to do what Declan and Darren are doing with Cage Legacy, and for the amount of talent in the country, those are really the only two shows that are going right now. And to me, that's a crying fucking shame overall. And I just hope it changes down the line. And like, it's our duty to kind of talk about it and shine a light on it. And that's why I enjoy doing this podcast so much, is because we get to shine an extra light, and we get to give everybody the platform that they deserve. And just hopefully everyone kind of pulls together. It's that kind of old school mentality sometimes that exists in Ireland, where it's like they're afraid of this new thing, which is MMA. Like, we're kind of in a stage right now where we're kind of coming out with the way it used to be in the 90s with mixed martial arts in general, even in the States and everything, where it's been labeled and certain athletes are being labeled in a certain way when they're not. They're the same as any other athlete that's coming up in the country, if you ask me.
Yeah. Just to jump back to, cause I actually had to go back and reread, because it was kind of a long question. He was kind of talking about, like, should we be reframing how we view the older guard versus, say, the likes of a Franz Malambo or a Reece McKee or whoever, who like have a lot of experience now, and maybe even more experience than the guys of yesteryear. But I don't think we should ever do that. I think there's a reason why they're so highly regarded, because they were the first to do it. Like, it was when this didn't seem to be a thing that could be possible, and the likes of Connor and Paddy and Neil Seary and Ash the First and all the rest of them, they were the first to get there. And even the guys who didn't, like a Roddy, like a Chris Fields, like a Philip Mulpeter, who have these amazing wars and who generated something that was meaningful and made people care about the sport in the country. It's off their backs that the rest of this generation have now, like, and obviously Conor McGregor played a huge part of that, but like, there's just so many more opportunities that weren't available. He
played a huge part in accelerating it, I think. Okay, yeah. I think it would have happened eventually anyway, but his success and his story definitely accelerated it in a good way, and in other ways brought it down as well, with some of his other actions. So
yeah, but we should never reframe. Maybe we should reframe the successes of people today, but I don't think we should do it at the expense of the people who've gone before.
I tell you what, if anyone wants to get an appreciation for kind of all of what was happening back then, go back and listen to what the interviews Graham did on the Severe Patreon. He went back, he interviewed people who've been around the scene since literally the very beginning, spoke all the way from the ground up till now, from where it all began, the MMA leagues, as he was saying there, some of the cage contenders, everything like that. And they're like, I got so much appreciation from them. I think everyone would. They're class, absolutely class. And they're worth listening to, just to understand what was kind of happening back then.
100%, very well said, and a very important part of it as well. And look, we've all three of us came up enjoying SevereMMA's work, and it feels a bit surreal that we have the platform right now, and we're trying to share in our opinions and stuff. But I love it.
Like, the only reason I'm here is because of the boom of that generation that got me into, because it was Connor was like, okay, into MMA, and then it's like, oh, hang on, I actually really like Irish MMA, and then Severe and the documentaries and those spotlight pieces that they did on the various fighters, and that's what got me hooked, and it was that generation.
Absolutely. But that's a great question. Those are the questions we love to answer there, because it sparks some great opinions and it sparks some great conversations as well. And not all rant from me there. I know I go off on one every now and again. But fuck it, I just love it.
Nothing. Just send in a question every week from now on.
Yeah, man, that's it. But it's good to be passionate about these things, because it really does mean. It means a lot for us to be able to do this. I can speak for myself, but I know I can speak for the lads as well. It means the world for us to be able to come here and talk about Irish MMA, and we all share that love of Irish MMA, and that's why we wanted to do this in the first place. So we're blessed to be in the opportunity, to get the opportunity and to be in the position to do so each and every week, which I think perfectly rounds us up for episode 16.
I think that's a good way to end it this week.
The Auld Triangle. We will be back, as always, in 2 weeks' time to discuss all things Irish MMA. Thank you to Danni McCormack for joining us today. Once you said congratulations to them and the entire youths team who did really great over in Abu Dhabi, and we wish them long and continued success. Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Caoilte, for sharing your thoughts with me today and sharing your thoughts with everybody.
I just want to say thanks as well to Niall Sunderland from Premier FC. He's been really, really helpful with everything, kind of getting down there, media access, even just giving us, help with details around the card. So very, very communicative.
Hopefully we can get him on soon. Maybe we might try and organise that for the next time to get him on. But we will be back, like I said, in 2 weeks. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the podcast, tell a friend. We appreciate the support. We appreciate the questions. We appreciate the feedback. And we appreciate the fighters, the coaches, and everything, everyone that makes everything happen. Because without them, we would have fuck all to talk about, and we'd just be staring into the abyss. So that was it. Episode 16 of the Auld Triangle. We'll catch you the next time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Caoilte, give us an old sláinte, Abu.
Slán go fóill.